Dr. Riyad Musa here for Under the Microscope. And welcome back to Season 2, guys, our Defending Democracy edition. So I'd like to share something with you, my viewers, my fans, my fellow guardians of democracy. I've decided to leave comedy and start my own political party. My foray into politics has been coming for a while. As you may know, I'm a man of many talents. I'm a doctor, talents. But I'm a doctor, in case my mom didn't tell you. Also, comedian, and at times I've been an actor. Now, thanks to the Constitutional Court ruling around electoral reform, I'll be a politician. I'm starting the South African Musa Party, or Samusa Party, for short. Like the Samusa, I have 3 different points. I will bring black, white, and colored, right, all together with a tasty scent of Indian spice for a new flavor of political party. Hey. This is fake news, people! Fake news! Didn't you know? This is just one of the many ways you can spread fake news, just like I did now. Just like I did. Exploit your position of influence and use a social media platform that has the potential to reach tens of thousands of people. Make up a lie that poses as a fact, seems plausible, share it, and even if one person spreads it, it's now out in the open, multiplies. So in today's episode, I think it's good that we explore fake news. Fake news, folks, fake news. Or rather, when it's weaponized, it's called disinformation. It's very dangerous, and how it can affect our democracy. It's very dangerous. A brief history of disinformation. It used to be called propaganda. And the father of fake news is actually none other than the charismatic and very shouty Adolf Hitler. Yes, unsurprisingly, disinformation has been perfected by this Jew-hating Nazi. Is there any other kind of Nazi? Hitler was a failed artist. He didn't get into the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna. So instead of that, in 1919, this bra takes a few courses at the University of Munich studying propaganda. No, this is not fake news, this is a fact. He practices his shouting and swearing and spitting in the beer halls and sets about using his newfound command of propaganda to literally execute his Jew-hating agenda. So, what was the disinformation Hitler spread to the German nation that saw over 16 million people being murdered from 1939 to 1945? What was it? Well, he said that the Jews were responsible for all of Germany's social and economic problems. All of the problems. It's called the big lie. The thinking behind the big lie, if you repeat it over and over and over and over and over again, people will accept it as the truth. Another big German lie, of course, is that sauerkraut is delicious. Lies, I tell you, lies! Fast forward to February 2022, and clearly Putin has learned from the best. He's looking for an excuse to invade Ukraine for its natural resources. Putin, an autocrat, says the rise of Nazism in the Ukraine, a sovereign democracy, is worrying him. He then uses the excuse of denazifying Ukraine to justify the military invasion, which he says is a peacekeeping mission. Peacekeeping to stop the genocide. It's funny, not how funny, but ridiculous. Because Ukraine's president Vladimir Zelensky is Jewish. He's a comedian too, but he's Jewish. So if there was a Nazi problem, he'd solve it. He'd want to do that. He doesn't need a shirtless Putin riding in to save the day. The genocide has never been proven and was clearly an excuse for Putin to invade. It's not dissimilar to George W. Bush. George W. Bush spreading disinformation about Saddam Hussein having weapons of mass destruction. He used this to justify invasion of Iraq post 9/11. We should never underestimate political leaders' abilities to spread disinformation to serve their agenda, people. We must expect it. And it's only gotten worse now that we're living in the technological age with politicians and whole groups of people linked to politicians using social media, most notably Twitter, to pump out this disinformation. Twitter is especially riddled with bots, i.e. fake profiles, i.e. not human beings. An estimated 15% of Twitter users are actually bots. That's an estimated 65 million bots on Twitter. Beep, 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 brah. In addition to the bot problem, Twitter has been pretty slow and lax when it comes to curtailing mis- and disinformation. They say they have policies and procedures in place, but they only banned Donald Trump after the violent January 6th storming of the Capitol Hill, which threatened the biggest democracy in the world. And so that, remember, Jamiroquai had guys mom packing him sandwiches with their crust cut off for his big day out. Way before the Capitol Hill invasion, the Donald has been tweeting that the election was stolen from him, stolen folks, and that Biden's win wasn't legitimate. And there was widespread voter fraud, triggering right-wing reactions all across the US. This was blatant disinformation, which Twitter didn't stop at the time. And in South Africa, we're no strangers to good old-fashioned propaganda. No strangers to it, which is now scarily amplified across the Twitterverse. So what are some of the big lies being told here? Much the same way Hitler and Trump blamed the country's problems on immigrants, so too xenophobic groups in South Africa blame our country's problems on foreigners. They blame them, saying they're criminals who have come here to steal South African jobs. Ugh. Ugh. These xenophobic groups include Operation Dudula, South Africa First, Umkhonto weSizwe, the now disbanded military arm of the ANC, and the All Truck Drivers Association. Yep. Honk if you're hateful. All these groups have put out provocative xenophobic statements that have made foreigners vulnerable to violent attacks by their communities. It made them very vulnerable with a number of deaths over the years. It's been horrible. It's been hectic. It's been the worst. So stop your cuck, Operation Dudula. Stop your cuck, South Africa First. Stop your cuck. Umkhonto weSizwe. Stop your cuck, All Truck Drivers Association. We need to move on. Recent World Bank findings show, number one, immigrants have made a positive impact on jobs and wages in South Africa. Number two, immigrants and locals hold jobs that complement each other rather than compete with each other. And number three, immigrants are more likely to start businesses, which, if successful, increase opportunities for locals while contributing to the country's growth. Yes, Mensa, foreigners aren't taking jobs from South Africans. They are actually creating jobs for South Africans. So please, be lekker. Come, be lekker. And I'm telling you, there are plenty of other examples of disinformation and fake news being used to incite violence and divide people in South Africa. Like the KZN riots in July 2021, which was fueled by the Zuma camp to destabilize the country and try to get the old Bali out of prison. Remember images of prisoners on a hunger strike at the prison? At the prison that Zuma was being held, supposedly in protest against his incarceration. They were spread on social media. And the problem was that these images were actually from a different prison and had nothing to do with Zuma. There have been old videos of past taxi violence, and that was shared as real-time KZN violence, making the situation even more volatile. They even spread a letter of apology, a fake letter of apology from Cyril to Zuma. Sorry, not sorry. And finally, the Jacob Zuma Foundation falsely claimed to be in the middle of litigation against the state for Zuma's detention without trial. After trying to hand the country over to the Guptas, no one was believing that Zuma is top of Amnesty International's Get Well card list. Media Monitoring Africa's analysis of social media posts leading up to and during the riots concluded disinformation incited violence and looting, and it was a threat to human rights and democratic principles. And what about other media platforms here in South Africa? What about them, hey? During the state capture years, the Guptas owned the New Age newspaper. Remember that? And the news channel ANN7, which they used to spread pro-Zuma news and other disinformation to whitewash rumors of corruption and state capture. Thankfully, when the Guptas went Dubai, both biased channels were disbanded. This happened when they went over there. What remains still, though, like a fart that just won't go away. a thought that persists, hanging in the air, is the fake news empire run by the controversial media magnate Iqbal Survey. Now, this dude's an interesting guy. Not only owns the news, thanks to the funds he acquired from the Public Investment Corporation, yes, more pension funds appropriated, woo! But he's been in the news himself for many years, right? He's claimed many things. He stretches the truth. Like he insists he was a close friend of Nelson Mandela and was his personal physician. But Zelda Lagrange, Madiba's personal assistant, doesn't even know who Survey is. A liar day keeps the doctor away. He also claims he was close to apartheid activist, the late Ahmed Kathrada. I actually played Uncle Kathy in the movie Mandela Long Walk to Freedom. And Kathrada said he didn't know the man personally. Okay, so those are some of the things Survey has stretched the truth about. Stretched the truth about himself. So he doesn't have a good track record for the truth. But what's scarier is that this person who stretches the truth owns 7 newspapers. 7! The Star, the Cape Argus, the Cape Times, amongst them. And under Survey's leadership, these publications appear to be putting out plenty of fake news, like the infamous decuplet story. Yup, the 10 imaginary babies. And who can forget the mythical SARS rogue unit story, created by 3 now discredited journalists who sought to attack SARS civil servants who were just doing their job. This proven fake news story, which has tried to create a witch hunt, was part of the state capture web of lies and deception. Unsurprisingly, Survey is a big Zuma supporter. And like Zuma, Survey has also come under the spotlight for his billions acquired through his murky past dealings with the PIC. And just like the Guptas, his corporate bank accounts have also been closed down. He took to his own publications to lament his situation and claimed that there was a violation of constitutional rights. Now, what's this, guys? What's this? The world's smallest violin. I think it's safe to say whenever it comes to anything Iqbal Survey, take a breath and count to 10. In a post-truth world, our best defense against disinformation is to become better consumers of information and news. I mean, look at the sources of the information and think before sharing it. Think, bruh. Social media is not the news. We have to separate opinion from fact. This is what is called news literacy, and it should be taught in every school to children from a very young age. Let's be active citizens out there, people. Let's be critical thinkers and support independent and non-profit journalism. Check the links below for sources you can trust to separate fact from the fiction. Spread the love, not fake news. This is Dr. Riyad Musa saying, peace out, people. You've heard what I have to say. Now tell me what you think. We want to hear from you. Comment below. Right? I'm expressing myself using my freedom of expression. You use yours. That's the important thing about this democracy. And I'll see you guys next time.